Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so that you know when live we go. Hello and welcome to the session on current affairs for the month of December. The purpose of this session are three. One is to give you the list of important topics that you must cover. Two is to discuss with you some questions that will help you judge the knowledge and concept that you have absorbed. And three is to discuss with you some tricks and smartness that you can deploy in attempting the prelims paper. This is part 2 of current affair discussion for prelims 2020 for the month of December. Unlike part 1, the topics for the discussion that I have chosen is from Focus magazine January. We will be taking up the discussion from prelims perspective. But if you feel the need and the urge to go deeper into the discussion, then you can refer to this magazine. The first question we are going to see in context of European Union Green Deal. European Union always remain important for prelims exam. Let us see this question from 2015 paper. The term digital single market strategy seen in the news is in reference to. And the answer of course is European Union. European Union is in news because of Brexit, because of the fact that India is negotiating free trade agreement with European Union, because of the reason that European Union as an entity is the third largest carbon emitter in the world. UPSC also has been asking questions in relation to the space initiative of European Space Agency. So naturally, any major initiative of European Union is important for the exam, and European Union Green Deal is one very important initiative. So let us practice discussion on European Union Green Deal. Consider the following statements. Regarding European Union Green Deal, it has set a legally binding target on all member states to become carbon neutral by 2050. It is funded by United Nations Environment Programme, World Bank and European Central Bank. See, very few initiative is legally binding. The success of any initiative of this nature is dependent on consensus. So be very cautious whenever you see legally binding in any statement in any question of the prelims exam. European Union Green Deal does not set legally binding targets, although there is opinion and demand from European Union countries that legislation be passed in European Union Parliament regarding legally binding targets. But that has not happened, and definitely that is not part of European Union Green Deal that has been announced recently. But you might know that a country recently has set a target legally binding to become carbon neutral. Which country is that? And here you have to use your common sense. See, while you will be reading about European Union Green Deal in newspaper articles, you will not find this information or information like this, that who is funding this and the intricate detail of the topics which generally UPSC asks in the prelims. But you have your common sense and your intuition always, and those are the most important tools to attempt the prelims paper. Since this is an initiative of European Union and this is not a global initiative, so your best bet could be that this statement is wrong. And the answer in this case is option D. In the previous video we saw that there was failure of COP25 meeting. There was no major initiative taken either on Article 6 or to raise the target of nationally determined contribution by countries. In this context, this is very significant that European Union has come out with a European Union Green Deal in which it has raised its emission reduction target. Previously, the target was 40% reduction from the level of 1990, and now the target is 50 to 55%. And more significantly, European Union has set a target of achieving carbon neutrality by 2050. Carbon neutrality means the total emission of carbon will be equal to absorption and removal of carbon from the atmosphere in carbon sinks like forest and vegetation. Our second topic is typhoid vaccine. Vaccine is very important for the coming prelims, especially in the backdrop of COVID-19. Make sure that you have special notes on immune system and vaccination. Very important for prelims 2020. UPSC asked this question previously. Triple antigen vaccine is given to children to protect them against. The answer is whooping cough. Triple antigen vaccine is actually for whooping cough, diphtheria, and tetanus. And these three diseases also are clubbed together in National Immunization Program. There has been a very significant news on typhoid vaccine. Let's first attempt this question. Indigenously built Type bar TCV is the world's first clinically proven conjugate typhoid vaccine. Consider the following statements regarding this. It is basically a polysaccharide linked to a carrier protein to create more powerful combined immune response. See, it's all in the name. It is a conjugate vaccine. Conjugate meaning there will be two components, one the main component and one helpful ancillary component. The main component is this polysaccharide. Vaccines are of various kinds, we are going to discuss very shortly. And this is a polysaccharide kind of vaccine, a long chain of sugar. So it basically behaves as an antigen. This is the same polysaccharide which is on the surface of bacteria. So when we inject this polysaccharide in the body, immune system identifies this, and when we get real infection, the same polysaccharide is going to come through the bacteria, then the bacteria is going to be identified because of this and going to be killed by the immune cells. But it is not just this polysaccharide, there is also a protein, and that protein get attached to the T cells of the immune system, and that triggers even more powerful immune response. And that is why this is a conjugate vaccine. The statement is factual and absolutely correct. The second statement is its single dose gives lifelong immunity. Few vaccines do give lifelong immunity. For instance, the immunity against measles, that is lifelong. Once you have the disease, you will never get it. But many of the vaccines are not lifelong. They provide immunity for few years. And in this case, this is not a lifelong immunity. That has not been claimed by the vaccine, that has not been claimed by the test results. So it will not be correct to say that it gives lifelong immunity. Statement 2 is incorrect. Answer is option A. This has been indigenously developed by Hyderabad-based Bharat Biotech. This is much better than the presently available vaccine because it provides 82% protection. The present vaccines, they provide protection in the range of 60 to 65%. And as we have already talked in the question, that this is the world's first clinically proven conjugate typhoid vaccine. Conjugate vaccine will have two parts. One will be the antigen. That will be either polysaccharide or the toxin, anything related to pathogen. And the second will be a special kind of protein that will get attached to some special immune cells to generate even more powerful immune response. Presently, a polysaccharide kind of vaccine is already available, and a live attenuated or live weakened typhoid vaccine. But conjugate vaccine is an improvisation on polysaccharide kind of vaccine where a protein is clubbed with polysaccharide to develop a stronger immune response. There is one significant thing you have to remember about this vaccine is that it can be given to children as young as 6 months. Previously, the vaccination against typhoid was for children above 2 years. And interestingly, the victim of typhoid are infants. So development of this vaccine is very, very significant. And even a single dose of this vaccine will prevent typhoid in children up to the age of 16 years. Vaccine basically are kind of training to the immune system before the infection happens. So basically vaccine produces dummy to the immune system which are not real but which are related to microorganisms. So before the microorganism enters the body, the immune system is trained to identify them. How is it trained? It could be trained in various ways. First of all, the most basic thing that can be done is to put the microorganism itself into the body in attenuated form so that it doesn't cause infection, but it is identified by the immune system. So that when the walkie and talkie microorganism enters as infection, they are identified and they are killed. Another way to do it is to inject into the body microorganisms which are dead, inactivated vaccines. Or what you can do is, instead of entire microbe, only the antigens that best stimulate the immune system, they are injected. When microbes enter into the body, it breaks down. And some part of it are spread into the body, bloodstream, plasma. They become antigens. And microorganism is actually identified by these parts. So either you put into the body live attenuated microorganism or the dead microorganism or the parts of microorganism by which the microorganism is best identified. They are called antigens. Or better still, you do not put any part of microorganism but you put the toxin which is created by microorganism. So once the walkie and talkie microorganism infects our body, it will be developing toxins. If that toxin is identified prior to toxin actually being created in body, then immune system will be ready to catch hold of it, identify the microorganism related with that toxin, and kill the microorganism yet again. Polysaccharide vaccine, as we have talked about, which is the present typhoid vaccine, is a kind of subunit vaccine which involves injection into the body a polysaccharide, which is a long chain of sugar molecules, and these polysaccharides are to be found on the surface of the bacteria. So this actually will behave as antigen. And the most advanced form of vaccine presently in use are biosynthetic vaccines, which inject into the body man made substances, which are very similar to the pieces of bacteria and virus, but they are not taken from the real bacteria and virus. Next topic we are going to take is National Investment and Infrastructure Fund. UPSC already has asked a question on this in prelims 2017. The question was, with reference to National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, which of the following statements are correct? It is an organ of Niti Aayog. Sounds so incorrect. Niti Aayog is a policy making body. It does not get into the business of managing funds of this nature. Second statement is it has a corpus of rupees 4 lakh crore at present. While preparing for prelims, you might not be doing the numbers, and that is okay. But what you have to do is to apply common sense. You might be aware that roughly the budget of central government is around 4 lakh crore is too big of amount. Out of 28 lakh crore, 4 lakh crore going to just one single fund is too much to believe. It's really too much of a money. You should be able to sense this, and this is what the prelims exam is all about. You have to use your common sense and intuition. Just purely by knowledge, you'll be able to attempt very few questions. And if you add common sense and intuition to it, you'll be able to attempt many more questions. This statement is also incorrect. The answer would be option D. So let us see one practice question. With reference to National Investment and Infrastructure Fund, which of the following statements are correct? It has been established as sovereign wealth fund, 100% owned by Government of India. This is incorrect, although it has a nature of sovereign wealth fund, but only 49% of it is owned by Government of India and 51% by private sector. Being a developing country, India has to adopt and adapt the global practices. Many countries like Norway, China, UAE, and many more, they have sovereign wealth fund. And National Investment and Infrastructure Fund is India's sovereign wealth fund. But this is not purely owned by government. To take the advantage of private capital and to bring efficiency into it, majority stake has been given to the private sector. So first statement is incorrect. It is registered as Alternate Investment Fund with the Securities and Exchange Board of India. This is absolutely correct. This is registered as Alternate Investment Fund. Alternate investment fund is any non-conventional fund. So funds which are generally not coming from bank credit or stocks or debt securities, they are said to be alternate investment fund. Alternate investment fund generally is a pooled investment which invest in venture capitals, in private equity, in hedge funds, in futures, etc. Answer to this question would be option B. Only second statement is correct. I'm sorry for some mess up here. National Investment and Infrastructure Fund is very important, very significant, especially in the context of decreasing bank credits, NBFCs, financial scams, and financial stress in other financial institutions which are supposed to finance the infrastructure funds. First and foremost, it gives out some patient money that helps to finance the infrastructure project because money is generally coming from the forex reserve and government is managing that, so it is the safest fund for financing long-term infrastructure projects. Apart from that, it also provides support to NBFCs and financial institutions that are engaged in infrastructure financing. These companies can have equity in the fund and in turn they can provide debt to selected infrastructure projects. So a general ecosystem is developed in financing the infrastructure projects. 28 lakh crore. In the month of December, the first meeting of Global Refugee Forum was held in Switzerland. Refugee crisis is a burning issue in the present time. It's a very important topic for the exam. And Global Refugee Forum becomes a very important body to be prepared for the coming prelims exam. Let's see the question straight away. Consider the following statements. Global Refugee Forum is the governing body of New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants 2016, a binding treaty. This statement is doubly wrong. First of all, this is no governing body of New York Declaration 2016. And second of all, New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants 2016 is not a binding treaty. So the statement is incorrect and incorrect. Second statement is India participated in the forum. Yes, India did participate in the forum because India is signatory to New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants 2016. So answer would be option B. The first meeting of Global Refugee Forum happened in Geneva, Switzerland. Global Refugee Forum is an outcome of Global Compact on Refugees. Global Compact on Refugees is a general agreement on refugee crisis in the world. It is an agreement to ensure that host countries receive predictable and sustainable support. Enabling situation must be created so that refugees contribute to their host nation and secure their own future. And this global compact on refugees is the outcome of New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants 2016. So to say that Global Refugee Forum is a governing body of this declaration would be cute but incorrect. And yes, by the way, you would be knowing that India is not signatory to UN Convention on Refugees 1951 or its protocol of 1967. India had many reasons. At that point of time, first of all, India was a newly independent nation and there were hostile neighbors, Pakistan and China. And India was of the opinion that the convention is to tailor make solutions of Western nation so that they better deal with the situation post World War II. India was never on board during negotiation, so India did not feel it fit to sign the convention. There was also one very important reason why India did not sign the convention. The financial burden was not shared by Western nations in that convention, and that has been checked and corrected in New York Declaration for Refugees and Migrants 2016. And India then has signed this. And hence, naturally, India would be a member of Global Refugee Forum. Global Gender Gap Index has already been asked in prelims exam of 2015. The simple question was which of the following gives Global Gender Gap Index ranking to the countries of the world? And the simple answer was World Economic Forum. The index was released in the month of December and India has slipped from its previous rank of 108. This is an important index, although UPSC will not ask it again since it has already been asked, but this will be very useful in writing the mains answer. So you have to know it anyways. Let us solve this question. Which of the following are parameters of Global Gender Gap Index released by World Economic Forum? Economic participation and opportunity, educational attainment, political empowerment, health and survival. As we have discussed in part 1 of the video, that index are very important. The parameters of the index becomes the dimension of your answers in the mains. So you do take special interest in looking at the parameters that make up the index. If you have to talk about gender gap, these are the 4 areas in which you can divide your answer. All 4 parameters are taken up in making up the index. India's ranking has slipped from 108 last year to present 112th position. I want to bring your attention to a particular point. If you look at India's ranking at every parameter, India's position is very poor. In economic participation, India stands at 149, in health and survival 150, on educational attainment 112. But India's ranking is quite impressive, and you have to take note of this. India ranks 18 on political empowerment. Although female political representation is low, 14.4% in the parliament, but at grassroots level in panchayats, participation is high, mainly because of women reservation. Water scarcity is one of the top 10 risks mentioned in the Global Risk Report of World Economic Forum. Water management for irrigation, drinking and other purposes is hot topic for the prelims exam. UPSC has always been asking in last few years question on water management. For instance, this question from prelims 2015, consider the following statements. Accelerated Irrigation Benefit Program was launched during 1996-97 to provide loan assistance to poor farmers. The Command Area Development Program was launched in 1974-75 for the development of water use efficiency. Although these are very old initiatives and seems to be little obscure, but still either you leave it or you try to find some loophole in the statement and attempt the question. Second statement sounds very generalistic. There is nothing mentioned that would raise a red flag. So you should consider the second statement as correct. But in the first statement, it is being said that the loan assistance will be given to poor farmers. This is questionable because if loan will be given, loan for what? As the name suggests, it's accelerated irrigation benefit program. Loan cannot be given for irrigation on individual farmer level. In fact, the loan assistance under this is given for schemes which are stalled or for new upcoming and the running projects. So this statement is incorrect. The answer is B. Now you try your hand on this question. Consider the following statement. Atal Bhujal Yojana is a central sector scheme for sustainable management of groundwater with community participation all over the country. Whenever there is extreme expression, all, never, always, none, every, you have to be very cautious, very, very cautious. Because if you do the analysis of previous year's question, most of the extreme statements are incorrect. And this statement is incorrect because the scheme initially has been launched in select 7 states. Statement number 2 is the scheme is being partially funded by World Bank. In fact, the share of the center and World Bank is 50-50%. Then the third statement says the entire sum shall be passed on to the state as grants. This is absolutely correct. The money will be given to the state government as grant in aid. Niti Aayog's Composite Water Management Index has raised the red flag. It has highlighted that India is presently staring at worst water crisis in its history. The report has said that by 2030, the demand of drinking water is going to outstrip the supply. It also has highlighted that already 2 lakh people are dying in India because of lack of access to drinking water. And 21 Indian cities are going to become ground zero for water crisis. They are going to run out of their water reserves. Report also has given a data that water crisis is set to incur 6% loss in India's GDP. Some of these data should be on your fingertips for writing the mains answer. Going to be very helpful value addition in the answer. Atal Bhujal Yojana was formally launched in December, although it has been in news since a long time. It is a central sector scheme, meaning all the money will come from the center. When there is sharing between center and state, that is centrally sponsored scheme. Initially, the scheme has been formalized with rupees 6,000 crore. One striking feature of the scheme that you have to take note of is community participation. And the draft of the scheme has suggested water use associations, water budgeting, preparation and implementation of Gram Panchayat wise water security plans, etc. The scheme is being implemented by Ministry of Jal Shakti. Ministry of Jal Shakti was previously known as Ministry of Water Resources, River Development and Ganga Rejuvenation. As we have discussed, the Government of India and World Bank is bringing money on board on 50-50 basis, and the entire component will go to the state as grant. Initially, 7 states has been identified where the scheme will be implemented in water-stressed areas, and those states are Gujarat, Haryana, Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, and Uttar Pradesh. In December, United Nations Migration Report was released. Let's do a question on this. Consider the following statement with regard to UN's migration report. India has largest number of migrants living abroad. Correct. India has received the highest remittance. Correct again. India is the top destination for migrants. Not correct this time. The top destination for migrant is United States. So answer would be option number B. Certain things you must know about UN's migration report. First of all, it is estimated that 270 million people are migrants in the world, and the top destination for migrant is United States. More than half of the international migrants live in North America and Europe. 52% of migrants are male and 2/3 of the migrants are actually looking for job. India has the largest number of migrants living abroad, followed by Mexico and then China. India has received highest remittance of the tune of 78.6 billion dollar. United States remained the top remittance sending country, followed by UAE and Saudi Arabia. Syria has the highest population of internally displaced people, followed by Colombia and Congo, and Syria is also the top refugee originating country. This much will suffice for the prelims exam. News was coming in recently that reservation for Anglo-Indians in Lok Sabha and State Legislative Assembly will be abandoned. The detail of the issue you can cover from the Focus magazine of January, and since nothing has materialized yet, so we will not be delving in our discussion in this video. But we have to know about the constitutional provisions of Anglo-Indians. So based on that, let's do a question. Consider the following statements. The term Anglo-Indian was formalized for the first time in census of 1911. Anglo-Indian has been defined in the Constitution of India. Anglo-Indian members of Lok Sabha and state assemblies cannot take the membership of any party. First two statements are correct, they are factual. Third statement is incorrect because within 6 months of their nomination, they can become member of a party. So answer is option B. Anglo-Indians were for the first time officially recognized as a specific community by the British, and the term Anglo-Indian was formalized in the census of 1911. You also have to know that Government of India Act 1935 identified Anglo-Indians as a person whose father or any of whose other male progenitors in the male line is or was from the European descent, but who is a native of India. Once the constitution was formulated in Article 366(2), Anglo-Indian term has been defined. Then Article 331 actually makes the provision of nomination of Anglo-Indian in House of People in Lok Sabha. President may, if he is of the opinion that Anglo-Indian community is not adequately represented in the Lok Sabha, nominate not more than 2 members. Similar provision of nomination in State Legislative Assembly is contained in Article 333, and Governor here can nominate 1 member of the community to the Assembly. According to 10th schedule of the Constitution, Anglo-Indian members of Lok Sabha and state assemblies can take the membership of any party within 6 months of the nomination. But once they become the member of the party, they have to follow the normal party whip which other party members follow. You also should know that Anglo-Indian members enjoy the same power as others, but they cannot vote in the presidential elections. However, they can vote during the impeachment of the president. Agriculture was already under distress even before the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. NABARD, in its All India Rural Financial Inclusion Survey, has highlighted that debt on farmers have been surmounting. But with the lockdown, the stress on farmer and rural economy has increased multiple times. In this context, any measure taken by government, whether central or state, for income support of farmer is very important for the exam, both prelims and mains. Recently, government has taken many measures, and one of the important initiatives for income support to the farmer is PM Kisan. So let's take a question on this. Consider the following statements regarding Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi. All landholding farmers and sharecroppers are covered under the scheme. Initially, when the scheme was announced in the beginning of 2019, it was only for small and marginal farmers. But in December 2019, Cabinet took the decision to expand the scheme to all the farmers. So all the farmer is correct, but sharecroppers are not included. You need to have land holding to become the beneficiary under the scheme. Sharecroppers are those who do not have their own land. They do cultivation on land of other farmers or landlords. Sharecroppers, tenant farmers, they are not included under the scheme. That makes the statement incorrect. Life insurance support is also provided to the beneficiaries. There is no such support provided. Although life insurance support is provided under the Kalia scheme of Odisha government. But under PM Kisan, there is no provision. Aadhaar card is mandatory to get the benefit of the scheme. Although Aadhaar card has been made mandatory for some of the public services, and in the Aadhaar judgment, Supreme Court has upheld Section 7 of the Aadhaar Act, which makes Aadhaar mandatory to receive the benefit of essential public services. But however, under the provision of the scheme, there is no mention of mandatory requirement of Aadhaar. The flagship scheme of Government of India are very important for the prelims. UPSC always asks about these schemes, so you need to get into the detail of the important flagship schemes of the government. All the 3 statements given are incorrect. That brings us to option D as the right option. PM Kisan Nidhi is basically income support scheme for all the farmers. Initially, it was only for small and marginal farmers, but now it has been extended to all the farmers. Sum of rupees 6,000 per year is given to the farmer in 3 tranches of rupees 2,000 each. This is supposed to help farmer a lot during the cropping season in buying the seeds, raw materials, fertilizers, etc., and supposedly will reduce the debt of the farmer and farmer suicide arising out of it. This money is transferred directly into the bank account of the farmers. And all this long, the JAM Trinity infrastructure that has been developed in the country has started to result fruit, and it has created an enabling administrative infrastructure to make the direct benefit transfer possible. Even before PM Kisan scheme was conceptualized, state governments were already running schemes similar to it. And in fact, PM Kisan has used the template of these schemes but falls short because the coverage of these schemes were wide. For instance, the Ritu Bandhu scheme of Telangana government covered all the farmers. In the beginning, PM Kisan covered only small and marginal farmers. Only later in December 2019, it was extended to all the farmers. But however, still it does not cover tenant farmers, it does not cover sharecroppers. Land holding is important. But the Kalia scheme of Odisha government includes sharecroppers as well. Ritu Bandhu scheme of Telangana government was giving rupees 10,000 per farmer per year, and PM Kisan offered only rupees 6,000. Although Ritu Bandhu scheme has now been clubbed with PM Kisan and the money under Ritu Bandhu has been reduced to rupees 4,000, which clubbed with rupees 6,000 of PM Kisan still add up to rupees 10,000. Kalia scheme provides life insurance support also, but there is no such provision under PM Kisan scheme. Kalia scheme of Odisha government also provides credits, loan up to rupees 50,000 at zero interest. But there is no such credit facility even at lower interest rate under PM Kisan. So now you also understand, whenever you have to give any suggestion to improve the PM Kisan scheme further, you can just take it up from the Kalia scheme. We'll end our discussion with an easy question. Consider the following matches. You have to match military exercises with countries. Surya Kiran has been matched with India and Nepal, Pitch Black, India and Russia, Mitra Shakti, India and Sri Lanka, Exercise Indra, India and United Kingdom. You have to choose the correctly matched pair. Surya Kiran, India and Nepal, this is correct, basic. Pitch Black is not, first of all, a bilateral military exercise. It's a multilateral military exercise led by Australian Air Force, and many countries like Singapore, Indonesia, United States, India participate. India has been participating in Pitch Black since 2018, and before that, India used to participate as an observer. So this option is incorrect. Mitra Shakti is of India and Sri Lanka. Exercise Indra is between India and Russia, not United Kingdom. So answer is option number A, 1 and 3. We have come to the end of our discussion of current affairs for prelims 2020 for the month of December. What I hope from you is you make a notes out of it and you do the same for last 12 months and you keep revising them. This will really help you sail through the prelims of 2020. Goodbye and take care.